Hey, Mudwater folks. My name is Kira Anastasia. I'm in snowy Portland, Oregon. And I just wanted to let you know that I am really enjoying my Mudwater. I am a yoga and meditation teacher and a Ayurvedic practitioner who has always had an addiction to coffee and couldn't beat it and knew that it was not good for me or my body, and made me quite antsy and hyper, which I didn't like, and maybe even a little angry, to be honest. So a couple weeks ago, I decided I would give Mudwater a shot. And having spent time in India and really loving chai, I was super skeptical. I didn't think it would taste good. And I am loving it. So thank you so much for all you do. Thank you for this great product, and I will definitely be getting more. Cheers.
Hey, Kira, thanks for sending that in. Glad you're enjoying your mud. If anyone else wants to send a voice memo in, just bust out your phone, let us know who you are, where you're listening from. Keep it under a minute and email it to podcast@mudwtr.com. If we play it, we will send you a free box of mud. Welcome to Trends with Benefits. My name is Kyle Tierman. Here we offer you short little microdosed bits of wisdom for you to take out into your day. And today is with none other than professional big wave surfer Peter Mel. Peter is one of the most well-known, well-respected, and hard-charging surfers in the world. And this past winter at the famed wave Mavericks, he caught what many call was the best wave ever ridden at Mavericks. And here is a bit of a conversation that we had about the importance of adversity and what it has taught him in his life. Please welcome to the show, Peter Mel. Do you have a wipeout that you can think of that was particularly bad? You mentioned you've had some wipeouts out there.
My very first two-wave hold down was on a day, maybe an 8 or a 9 at 17, smaller day, breaking on the bowl, low tide. I tried to push it underneath a low tide one, and didn't make the drop. And I feel like that was the one where it goes off the kind of the left side of the bowl and it goes into the deep spot off the main bowl, right when you first wipe out. That was an area where, I vividly remember going, getting the wipe out and going, okay, the energy is kind of subsiding. I'm ready to go to the surface, and then getting dropped into that rut or that hole in the reef and going really deep. And you can feel yourself, the pressure starts to get stronger. So you're deep. And I remember just going, whoa, I haven't been this deep before. And the energy of the wave's not going to let me up again. So at this point, psychologically, I'd never been in a situation like that. Psychologically, oh my gosh, you panic, right? Which is, I've had a similar situation at another break I'll tell you about, where the switch went the opposite direction. But that moment, I was able to go, oh, I'm going to be down here a little while and relax, and that was something that I had never had to experience before. And you don't know until you actually get in that situation how you're going to deal with it psychologically. And in that moment, I was just like, oh, it's cool. Okay, I'm going to be down here a little while. So I relaxed. I didn't try to swim to the surface or anything like that. So I sat down there, and then I heard the next wave. So I was like, oh, yeah, you hear it. And I just was, I can't swim up into it. So I just waited, and the next wave rolled over the top of me. And it kind of brought me to the surface, gave me a little breath, and brought me down again. So I was down 45 seconds. There was Steve Spalding, which is a longtime photographer, filmer from the area. He filmed it all, and he filmed the whole thing. So he actually put a timer on it, and it was like, oh, okay, so it's like 44 seconds.
Yeah.
Which is a long hold down for surfing.
For sure.
But all of us can hold our breath for a minute.
Yeah.
Anybody, pretty much.
Why is air a lot like sex? Because it's no big deal till you're not getting any.
Yeah, right. And so that was one situation. I was like, whoa, I just had a two-way hold down, and it wasn't, that bad. I can do it. You always heard about those situations over the years that people have had it, and some people have stopped and stepped away from a place like Mavericks or, after a situation like that. I was able to gain confidence from it. There was another situation, like the opposite have happened to me. I was with my best man and tow partner at the time was Adam Riplogel. We were exploring some new spots around the world. We were in a place that has actually taken a surfer's life, Pete Davy. It's Pescadero Point. We were towing that wave for the first time, and I had a wipeout there. And the unknown, I guess, in my mind is what I actually had a life vest on. And that 2-wave hold down I talked about previously, we were in a situation where we just wore wetsuits. We didn't have any life-saving, apparatus anywhere. But this one, I was tow surfing. I had a full-on life jacket on, and I got a wipeout. Similar situation where the bottom's super uneven, and when the bottom's uneven like that, you have those spots that the water just holds you down. So that was one of those situations where I was like, oh gosh. And I remember in my head in that moment going, the next wave's coming, I got to get to the surface. And that switch of my mind psychologically to I need to get air now really screwed me up. Because all of a sudden I was panicked. I was very fortunate that I got to the surface before the next wave. But if I hadn't, I probably would have lost my air and had to be resuscitated by Adam, which I would have come to the surface at least because I had a life jacket on. But that was where psychologically I was like, wow, I never want to do that again, because it was scary. And it put me in a situation where I'd never been before.
Yeah, it's interesting how the need to be somewhere else is what causes the most suffering.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you can actually be okay where you are, the human psyche can handle immense suffering. If you're able to give up that war for a little time, the war of air, the war of a relationship, a war of like a job, a war of like wanting to be in some other situation, is what
it's stress.
It's the stress that we can't handle.
No,
right?
Stress as a whole is one of the most unhealthy things we could possibly deal with. Yeah, it's a teacher, but it's also it's also one of the worst things you could possibly, it's suffering.
Right. And being able to give that up, right? Like what you said in the first situation at Mavericks, like, okay, I'm going to be here for a little while, allows you to be there for probably allows you to be there longer than you ever thought you could, right? But it's just that switch of wanting to be somewhere else, which I think is, as looking at this concept on a meta level, like, a huge affliction in global society right now, given the amount of constant comparison that we have to everyone else on social media, for instance, right? And the amount of suffering that simple mental switch of comparing yourself can cause.
Yeah.
I think that's where mindfulness comes in, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the power that mindfulness can offer people.
So true. And again, I talk about the teacher in my life. The real life experiences are really the best teachers. We can go to classes. You could have mentors. You can have all these people tell you something, but you can try and practice that. But the best teacher is obviously that real life experience with the chemicals flowing through your body and the emotion that comes with it. You don't want to have those situations where, you don't pull it, right? And so far I've been very, very fortunate that most of my situations I've been in have been great teachers.
Right. How has adversity been a teacher to you?
Well, if you could put it to those moments in surfing right there, right? Those are the big wave elements. There's competition parts, right? If I was competing and wanting to be the top surfer in the world and be on the championship tour, those lessons of having to accept the fact that I was never going to get there. That's a teacher. Relationships, drugs, that was a big thing for me. I had to overcome that. And all those, the real life experiences, were the greatest teachers.
Right.
And there's some psychological moments that I dealt with when I was dealing with drugs and alcohol that I wouldn't be here today if I didn't get to experience those things real life. Again, going to a rehab and having people tell you those stories helps, but the real true teacher is the experience that you deal with inside, and then the repercussions of afterwards. Having to deal with it, whether you've screwed up a relationship that you cared about, or you got into trouble, you went to jail. Who knows? I was very fortunate that I didn't have to deal with that, but again, this dealing with real life experiences is the best thing going.
Yeah. Do you ever coach yourself? Like, there's the Stoic Marcus Aurelius. He was the emperor for years, and he kept his journal, and he would actually talk to himself. Like, okay, like, Marcus, get it together, dude. Like, this is your time. You're gonna show up. We're in a famine. Like, you got to show the fuck up today. Like, he actually spoke to himself like he was his own coach. Do you ever have those level of conversations with yourself in situations of adversity?
Psychologically, when I'm strong, yes. When I'm not, when I'm in autopilot or I'm distracted or not in the now, yes, that's I don't talk to myself, and that's the worst place you can be. So being able to acknowledge that in those moments, which is very hard to do for a lot of people, and to be able to just grab yourself and go, shake yourself and go, what are you doing? You can't think like this, like I do, yes. And that's when I'm healthy, but I'm not always healthy, if you're not taking care of yourself, whether it be, with diet or, psychologically asking yourself those questions, to keep yourself healthy. I still do it. Even at 51, I still have those moments where I go into autopilot and I'm not thinking, and I'm not in the now. I'm either thinking about the future and like what I can get, what I need, or I'm in the past going, you screwed up. You're such a little pathetic mess. I still do that.
Yeah.
But right now, in this moment, right now, I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah. Hey, it's Kyle again. Head over to trendswithbenefits.com and sign up for our newsletter to get weekly stories about psychedelics, adventure, and well-being.